Hello everyone. This is Boss bringing you yet another financial roller coaster of disarray from the global stage. Today, we're diving deep into Egypt's critical tango with the IMF, International Monetary Fund, over its $8 billion Extended Fund Facility, EFF. Now, before you think, oh, progress sounds good. Hold your horses. What the IMF really said was that further talks are needed, essentially admitting that Egypt's economic overhaul is moving slower than expected. If Egypt passes this next hurdle, it might unlock a much-needed $165 billion. As repayment schedules tighten, and the pound slides further, Egypt's existing loans become terrifying burdens. It's like drowning while your debt collectors ask for payment in increasingly heavy gold bricks. This isn't Egypt's first rodeo with the IMF. Since 2016, Cairo has pursued multiple rounds of funding, and the IMF has always issued the same laundry list of demands: structural reforms, selling off bloated state assets, and reducing state interference in the economy. This time's no different. The IMF tells Egypt. 1. Privatize more state-owned enterprises. Translation: sell your economy piece by piece to fix your current deficit, even if it means foreign companies dominate in the future. 2. Cut spending and subsidies. Sounds nice on paper, doesn't it? But in an economy where 60% of people live either in poverty or on the edge of it, this means social safety nets are axed while the poor pay for the state's mismanagement. Now, this script plays out everywhere. Remember Sri Lanka's recent financial collapse? It also stemmed from years of borrowing, followed by IMF-dictated spending cuts that left its people holding the bag. This comes down to one brutal truth: the IMF saves markets. It doesn't save people. Another fracture point is Egypt's heavy reliance on energy imports, which are priced in dollars. Even after discovering natural gas reserves, they still remain massively dependent on international fuel markets to sustain domestic demand. And what's happening globally? Oil prices jumped to a 10-month high around August 2023, pushing energy costs across the board. Combine that with Egypt's currency crisis, and the pounds you hold in your hand shrink faster than ice on a summer day. Let's zoom out. Economists across the world are worried, because Egypt isn't an isolated case. Their struggles reflect larger systemic patterns. 1. The debt trap of developing nations. Over 60 countries globally are teetering on the edge of debt distress, many of them because they followed growth at all costs policies financed by international loans. Think Ghana, Pakistan, Lebanon, they're all waiting for IMF checks, just like Egypt. 2. Austerity as a solution, but at what cost? Time and again, IMF-led austerity reforms worsen inequality. Sri Lanka cut subsidies as demanded, only to face food riots and gasoline lines. Egypt risks the same if cash assistance doesn't fully cushion the blow. 3. A contagion risk. Globalized financial markets don't operate in silos. If Egypt defaults, it could trigger investor panic about other emerging economies, raising borrowing costs worldwide. 4. Energy dependency hammers developing nations. Rising energy prices remind us that countries heavily reliant on imports, like Egypt, will always be the first to feel the economic heat when global markets shift. And as the energy transition to renewables remains slow-moving, dependence on fossil fuels continues to dominate national security concerns. Here comes the question everyone's asking: what now? How does Egypt, or any country in its shoes, pull itself out? Egypt must broaden its export base beyond tourism and 2 or 3 core commodities. Borrowing is a vicious circle, but export earnings contribute sustainable income. Egypt's food imports, particularly wheat, are colossal. Imagine investing in domestic farming instead of waiting for Western wheat to pile up in expensive ports. Corruption and opaque fiscal policies drive investors away faster than anything else. Egypt's public and global lenders alike need to know everything's above board. For Egypt, time is running out. What we're watching isn't just a country struggling with numbers, it's the lives of 102 million Egyptians amid rising poverty, inequality, and shrinking opportunities. With immense pressure from both creditors and citizens, Cairo faces a tough choice: embrace real reform with short-term pain, or continue down the rabbit hole of debt dependencies. And as for the rest of us? Egypt reminds us what happens when debt piles too high, currencies collapse, and international lenders demand impossible conditions. Sound grandiose? Maybe. But don't forget, the domino effect can start anywhere. This has been Boss, bringing you another truth bomb about our chaotic global economy. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe if you want more hard-hitting takes that unwrap economic realities in plain language. Until next time, keep questioning the narrative, and as I always say, don't follow the money blindly, read its terms first.